Hey everybody! Today we're going to be reading chapter 4 of 2nd Kings, and after I get done reading scripture, I'm going to explain what I think about it, how I feel about it. And I'm not an expert in scripture at all, so please do not lean on my understanding, but trust in the Lord for understanding and for guidance. And if I mispronounce any names, places, people, words, anything like that, I do apologize. And as always, I'm reading from my Bible. It is the New Living Translation for those who want to follow along. So the NLT, and that's because I'm here at home. And I apologize in advance for like my voice and stuff like that. I'm down here in this basement and it's dusty, and my allergies is acting up, and I'm just suffering. But the Lord's work shall be done. So, without further ado, let's get started. One day, the widow of a member of the group of prophets came to Elisha and cried out, "My husband who served you is dead, and you know how he feared the Lord. But now a creditor has come, threatening to take my 2 sons as slaves." "What can I do to help you?" Elisha asked. "Tell me, what do you have in the house?" "Nothing at all except a flask of olive oil," she replied. And Elisha said, "Borrow as many empty jars as you can from your friends and neighbors. Then go into your house with your sons and shut the door behind you. Pour olive oil from your flask into the jars, setting each one aside when it is filled." So she did as she was told. Her sons kept bringing jars to her, and she filled one after another. Soon every container was full to the brim. "Bring me another jar," she said to one of her sons. "There aren't any more," he told her. And then the olive oil stopped flowing. When she told the man of God what had happened, he said to her, "Now sell the olive oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on what is left over." One day, Elisha went to the town of Shunem. A wealthy woman lived there, and she urged him to come to her home for a meal. After that, whenever he passed that way, he would stop there for something to eat. She said to her husband, "I am sure this man who stops in from time to time is a holy man of God. Let's build a small room for him on the roof and furnish it with a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp. Then he will have a place to stay whenever he comes by." One day, Elisha returned to Shunem, and he went up to this upper room to rest. He said to his servant Gehazi, "Tell the woman from Shunem I want to speak to her." When she appeared, Elisha said to Gehazi, "Tell her, we appreciate the kind concern you have shown us. What can we do for you? Can we put in a good word for you to the king or to the commander of the army?" "No," she replied. "My family takes good care of me." Later, Elisha asked Gehazi, "What can we do for her?" Gehazi replied, "She doesn't have a son, and her husband is an old man." "Call her back again," Elisha told him. When the woman returned, Elisha said to her as she stood in the doorway, "Next year at this time you will be holding a son in your arms." "No, my lord," she cried. "Oh, man of God, don't deceive me and get my hopes up like that." But sure enough, the woman soon became pregnant, and at that time, the following year, she had a son, just like Elisha had said. One day when her child was older, he went out to help his father, who was working in the harvesters. Suddenly he cried out, "My head hurts, my head hurts." His father said to one of the servants, "Carry him home to his mother." So the servant took him home, and his mother held him on her lap. But around noontime he died. She carried him up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, then shut the door and left him there. She sent a message to her husband, "Send one of the servants and a donkey so that I can hurry to the man of God and come right back." "Why go today?" he asked. "It is neither a new moon festival nor a Sabbath." But she said, I will be all right. So she saddled the donkey and said to the servant, "Hurry, don't slow down until I tell you to." As she approached the man of God at Mount Carmel, Elisha saw her in the distance. He said to Gehazi, "Look, the woman from Shunem is coming. Run out to meet her and ask her, is everything all right with you, your husband, and your child?" "Yes," the woman told Gehazi, "everything is fine." But when she came to the man of God at the mountain, she fell to the ground before him and caught hold of his feet. Gehazi began to push her away, but the man of God said, "Leave her alone. She is deeply troubled, but the Lord has not told me what it is." Then she said, "Did I ask you for a son, my Lord? And didn't I say, 'Don't deceive me and get my hopes up'?" Then Elisha said to Gehazi, "Get ready to travel. Take my staff and go. Don't talk to anyone along the way. Go quickly and lay the staff on the child's face." But the boy's mother said, "As surely as the Lord lives and you yourself live, I won't go home unless you go with me." So Elijah returned with her. Gehazi hurried on ahead and laid the staff on the child's face, but nothing happened. There was no sign of life. He returned to meet Elijah and told him the child is still dead. When Elisha arrived, the child was indeed dead, lying there on the prophet's bed. He went in alone and shut the door behind him and prayed to the Lord. Then he lay down on the child's body, placing his mouth on the child's mouth, his eyes on the child's eyes, and his hands on the child's hands. And as he stretched out on him, the child's body began to grow warm again. Elisha got up and walked back and forth across the room once, and then stretched himself out again on the child. This time the boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Hold on, give me a minute. Alright, sorry about that. Then Elisha summoned Gehazi. "Call the child's mother," he said, and when she came in, Elisha said, "Here, take your son." She fell at his feet and bowed before him, overwhelmed with gratitude. Then she took her son in her arms and carried him downstairs. Elisha now returned to Gilgal, and there was a famine in the land. One day, as the group of prophets was seated before him, he said to his servant, "Put a large pot on the fire and make some stew for the rest of the group." One of the young men went out into the field to gather herbs and came back with a pocket full of wild gourds. He shredded them and put them into the pot without realizing they were poisonous. Some of the stew was served to the men, but after they had eaten a bite or two, they cried out, "Man of God, there is poison in this stew." So they would not eat it. Elisha said, "Bring me some flour." Then he threw it into the pot and said, "Now it is all right. Go ahead and eat." And then it did not harm them. One day a man from Baal Shalia brought the man of God a stack of fresh grain and 12 loaves of barley bread made from the first grain of his harvest. Elisha said, "Give it to the people so they can eat." "What?" his servant exclaimed. "Feed 100 people with only this?" But Elisha repeated, "Give it to the people so they can eat, for this is what the Lord says. Everyone will eat, and there will even be some left over. And when they gave it to the people, there was plenty for all, and some left over, just as the Lord had promised. Thus ends the reading of chapter 4 of 2 Kings. So we read a lot in this chapter, and I'm just going to talk about like the key things that's like my favorite parts. So of course this widow and everything, whose husband passed, and who these debtors or whatever was coming in order to take her 2 sons and everything from her, went to the man of God and asked for help. And Elisha told her to take as many empty jars as she can, and to use her only flask of olive oil, and to fill up all of the jars with olive oil. Now, in all honesty, if the Lord told me to do something like that, at first I'd be thinking with my human mind, how is that even gonna work? How is that even possible? But then I would think about how the Lord had did similar things in the Bible before. So then I get excited and immediately do what he tells me to do, because he finna do a miracle, obviously. But yeah, with my human mind though, I always think first how this is, this don't make no sense, I don't understand or whatever, but I end up doing it anyway. I don't like it when I hesitate, when the Lord tells me to do something for me, but we working on that. But yeah, the woman though, she was probably thinking in her mind, how is this gonna happen? But she is talking to a man of God, and she know that the Lord finna do a miracle, so of course she obeys. And she ends up selling the olive oil, and everything in order to pay off her debts, and then she ends up having some left over in order for her sons to live off of. So that's wonderful. Like, you see how the Lord worked that out? Like, I never would have imagined, that would be the way in which, her problems would get solved. To me, I would think that the Lord would just bless her with the money in order to pay the debts off. Or the Lord would, just have the debtors, like touch the debtors' hearts or whatever, and just go ahead and cancel the debt or something like that, and not take her sons. Like, but the Lord's way of doing it was so much better, because not only was she able to sell the olive oil that was produced in these jars and stuff, like, not only was she able to sell the olive oil and bless other people with olive oil, but then she was able to take the money, pay off her debts, money that she rightfully earned, and pay off her debts, so that way she don't owe nobody. And she ended up with olive oil left for her and her children to be able to live off of, because she literally didn't have anything in the house but that flask of olive oil. So literally the Lord did a way better job. That was just way better than anything I could have ever imagined. I never would have thought about that. Never would have thought about that. And that's what I love about the Lord. He always do amazing things. Like, his ways is higher than our ways. His thoughts is greater than our thoughts. Like, the way that he does things and what he has planned for us is way better than anything that we could have planned for ourselves. So I just love the Lord so much. Now, this woman who was in the town of Shura, she was wealthy, and she set up a room and all that stuff for the man of God and everything to come stay with her and stuff whenever he's in the city, whenever he's in her town. And I love that, in all honesty, for her. I've always thought about having a home and having enough room in the home to where if there were any, fellow Christians, fellow followers of Christ and stuff like that who were in town, they could just come stay with us. Of course, I have to, consult with my husband and everything on that, and of course, ask the Lord because, that might not be what he calling me to do. He might have someone else doing that, another Christian doing that, another one of his children doing that. So, but that is something that I have thought about doing. I think that's super cool. But anyway, the man of God was trying to bless her with something, asked her, what do you need, and that's another thing that I love about Elisha. He's over here asking people what they need and then blessing them with that. That's so cool. Like, that's how he uses his power. And I wonder how the Lord's going to use me one day. Because each one of his children are meant to do different things, So, I wonder how he going to use me one day. How I going to bless people, with my faith and with the power that he gives me, I just wonder one day. But yeah, I love the fact that she literally was using her wealth in order to help this man of God. Then the man of God wanted to help her. So he blessed her, with a child because she don't have one. So, of course, every woman. I feel like every woman would be devastated if they were blessed with a child, only for that child to end up dying, especially young. Like, of course they would be devastated, because they looking like, you blessed me with this child. Why would you take them away from me, especially at a young age, Like, they supposed to live on and carry on the family, name and stuff like that, the lineage and stuff. Like, why bless me with it only to take it away so soon? So she went to the man of God and everything, and what I love about this part is the fact that she did it in secret. She didn't tell her husband what was going on, because he over here like, why are you trying to see the man of God today and everything? How come you can't see him, on the Sabbath day or whatever? And she like, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'll be all right. And she went to go handle her business, on her own. She didn't tell her husband nothing. She just went and handled her business. And even the man of God, he was like, shoot, don't tell nobody, don't talk to nobody, don't tell nobody nothing while we on the way, learn all that stuff, And even when he brought the even when God brought the child back to life and everything through Elisha and everything, like, even then the door was closed and everything, so that way nobody could see what was going on, Like, all this was done in secret, Like, I love how sometimes the Lord calls us to do stuff in secret, He calls us to, be quiet, don't tell nobody, shoot, don't tell nobody nothing, just move in secret. Like, let's say the Lord is calling you to, let's just do a business, because obviously, because that's the easiest one. Like, let's say the Lord is calling you to, create your own business, to run a small business, doing something for him, and but you already know that if you tell people your business plans, if you tell people that the Lord calling you to do this and everything, and that you gonna do this business or whatever, you know that people gonna try and they gonna try and suffocate your dream. They gonna try and talk you out of it and everything, tell you how you crazy for trying to do something like that, tell you how, you ain't gonna make a name for yourself and stuff doing that, you ain't gonna be able to make no money doing that, blah, 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 whatever they say in order to try to discourage you and stop you from, fulfilling your dream, You end up with all of these other people's opinions and stuff, and then you end up questioning whether or not you should even do it anymore, it's like your light gets stuffed out before, like your plans get stopped before you even start. So, obviously, that's why the Lord tells us to do certain things in secret. You know, like when you grow with the Lord and everything, you normally do it in secret. He tells you to pray in secret. When you pray, go into a room, close the door and everything, and pray to your Father in secret. When you do good deeds for people, he tell you to do it in secret. Shoot, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. Like, sometimes you gotta grow in secret, because other people will literally try and discourage you and stuff. And the only reason why they discourage you is because, first of all, they know that you have the light and the talent and everything within you in order to make this happen. Sometimes people don't want you to be more successful than they are. Sometimes people were called to do amazing things just like you were, but they decided not to, and they regret it, so therefore they want you to be miserable just like they are. Like, it just all depends. But yeah, either way, they trying to stop you from doing what it is that you called to do, and you don't let them do that. That's why you got to move in secret. You don't tell nobody what you doing or whatever until it's done. Like with the business needs to be already up and running, and you already done sold products, you done already, got customers and everything. Shoot, as a matter of fact, they'll probably find out when one of your customers talk to them about how amazing you are. Like you don't tell people until you already up and running, like, and successful. Like, that's when you tell people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't tell people when you still planning. You don't tell people when you working, still trying to get it up and running. You don't tell people, because they would straight up try and crush you and discourage you and stop you from doing what you're trying to do. So sometimes you gotta do stuff in secret. And this woman, she did it in secret. She didn't tell her husband that her son was dead. She didn't tell her husband that their son was dead up there in the room, in the prophet room. She just went and got the prophet. She just went and got Elisha, because she knew that he was a man of God and a true man of God and everything, and that he could bring her son back. So there was no need. Her faith saved her son. Shoot. So then, when it came down to the famine and all that stuff, I just love Elisha so much. Like, he just be solving problems. Like the Lord just gave him the power to be solving problems. Like, the stew had poison in it. He just threw some flour in there and said it ain't poisonous no more. Like the stuff that they be doing. Like, I want to do some cool stuff too one day. Like, for real. I want to do some cool stuff too. I don't know if I want to do it on this level and all that, but like, I want to do some cool stuff too. Like, that's some crazy faith to just throw some flour inside some stew and be like, it ain't poisonous no more. Like, what? Like, when he threw the salt in the dang river and everything, or whatever body of water it was and stuff, it was like, it's purified now. It's good now. Shoot. Like, he just amazing. The Lord is amazing. I love the Lord's prophets and everything, because they true men of God, and they gotta have a certain level of faith in order for them to be able to do all that. Like, prophets are amazing. I mean, all of the Lord's children are amazing, but them prophets be doing some stuff, man. They prophecies and stuff. I love to hear prophecies. I really do, because it's the Lord literally speaking through them. It's the Lord literally speaking through them. Like, I love it so much. Whenever I meet one, or whenever I see one, or whatever, I try not to bother them, because, I mean, they got so much stuff that they be doing and everything, Like, I don't want to bother them and everything, I know that they be on mission, the Lord tells them who to speak to and all that stuff and what to say and everything, so I do know that, Plus, I want to hear from the Lord. I want to learn how to hear from the Lord and obey Him on my own, because I know that I can. I mean, that's literally what, like Jesus, when He gave His life on the cross and stuff. He literally made a way for us to have constant communication with God. All the time. We can pray to the Lord anywhere and everything, and He will hear us. His children and stuff. So, like, y'all don't need a prophet no more in order to hear from the Lord. You can literally hear from Him yourself. So that's just so wonderful. But I love this chapter. I love how she moved in secret. And in all honesty, moving in secret ain't lying. Especially when it's what the Lord wants you to do. Like, when you move in secret, you ain't lying to nobody. You just don't feel like telling everybody your business, and you don't allow everybody to have access to you, because everybody does not deserve access to you. Like, I don't have to tell you everything that's going on with my life. Like, some people be having the audacity of thinking that they supposed to know everything about you. Like, even got the nerve to be expecting you to tell them how much money is in your bank account and everything. I'm over here looking like, who is you to need such information? Like, that's my personal information. If I asked you how much money was in your bank account, is you gonna tell me? No. So why should I tell you? So yeah, not everybody deserves access to you, and you gotta move in secret. And in all honesty, I love the whole moving in secret thing. Sometimes it is hard because you just want something. You just want to tell somebody sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But it's best to move in secret. And when you're successful at everything and people see your success and stuff, shoot, they gonna be like, when you start this or whatever? Shoot, some years ago. How come you didn't tell me? Shoot, for what? Just for you to discourage me, try to talk me out of it, because you know dang well that that's exactly what you would have did. You would not have encouraged me. You talking about right now that you would have encouraged me. That's only because you see my success right now. But if I was just starting out, you would not have been encouraging me. It reminds me of Tyler Perry. How when he was trying to start out his stuff and everything, his own mom told him to give up and to stop. And that he ain't gonna make it. His own mom told him. And that was after, so many times he tried, and he failed, he wasn't successful and stuff, but he just kept on trying and stuff. And she was just tired of it, and she was like, shoot, you ain't gonna make it, just give up, just stop. And he didn't. And he ended up being successful. And of course, at some type of celebration, some type of event or whatever, celebrating him and his successes or whatever, she apologized to him and was like, it was like, I'm sorry and everything for telling you to give up. Because if you had listened to me, then you would not be here right now. And of course he forgave her and everything, because that's his mom. But like, sometimes people do that. They do that. Sometimes people don't want you to live the life that the Lord has for you, because it does not include them and they won't benefit from it. And you know what? You got to do what the Lord tell you to do anyway. Do what the Lord tell you to do. Do what's best for you. That's what you got to do. Don't nobody in this world have your best interest but the Lord. Okay? Remember that. Nobody in this world got your best interest but the Lord. Do what the Lord tell you to do. Even if you got a husband that's a man of God and everything, and that's supposed to be leading you and everything, you listen to the Lord. Because your husband, who a man of God, is a flawed human being just like you are, and he can make mistakes too. And you don't want him to lead you down the wrong path, especially if the Lord tell you to go one way and your husband say go another way. You follow the Lord. Period. If your husband don't understand, oh well. you know. Now that's just like this woman up in here. She didn't tell her husband what she was doing. I'm pretty sure he was probably a man of God or something. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But like she didn't tell her husband what she was doing. She just went and did what she had to do. So you follow God. No matter who end up inside your life and everything, you follow God. You do what he tell you to do. And that's it. That's all I gotta say, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. I love you. Jesus loves you. And have a blessed day. Bye.